When I first got into the Mega Man series around 2009, I heard many folks online say that Mega Man 4 was the beginning of the decline for the series. However, based on the comments that I get, it seems that many people have come around to loving Mega Man 4. Many even say that this is one of their favorite entries in the classic series now, even above 2 or 3. This seemingly newfound love for the game was very intriguing to me, and I could not wait to explore Mega Man 4 again. I had not played this one in a long time, pretty much since I played it around 2009 when I was getting into retro gaming in my middle school years. From memory, I know I at least beat it once. Then I also played it on the Legacy Collection when that first came out. To prepare for this video, I beat it again on the NES. Here's some footage of the ending to prove that I beat the game legitimately on real hardware. However, as you can tell, the NES capture is not nearly as high quality as the Legacy Collection, so you'll be seeing footage from the version on PC for the rest of the video. I'll just put up this preservation graphic right away then. It's the same collection that we see the other NES games on, so you have seen this graphic if you've watched the Mega Man 3 review. As usual, we are going to split the video up into several topics, and I'll take you guys through the journey that I had revisiting Mega Man 4. I can gladly say that I had an incredible time with this game, and I'm going to be covering many of the things I love about it here. There's a few nitpicks I have with it too, of course. I mean, no game is perfect, and keep in mind that some of my gripes are just a matter of personal preference. Without further ado, the categories for today are the gameplay, soundtrack, artwork, and we're going to take a look at how Mega Man 4 has been preserved for those who come after us. Mega Man is fully upgraded now. We have the Mega Buster, the Slide, and our trusty sidekick Rush. As I mentioned in the Mega Man 5 review, some folks do not like the Mega Buster, but I felt like it was kind of a natural progression of the series. One complaint I heard from others also was that the sound of you charging is way too loud. Yeah, sure, I'll give you that. However, if one of the biggest problems in Mega Man 4 is that the Buster charging is too loud, then we clearly have an incredible game on our hands. So I start with Toadman, as does pretty much everyone, I think. One of my small knocks against the game is that I really don't like the segment here in the beginning with the rain. The wind pushes you back and causes your jumps to be very short. The movement in Mega Man 4 is incredibly fun, and you have so much freedom while jumping around. However, that whimsy kind of gets taken away once your jumps are so limited here, and I don't really like this part of the stage. Thankfully it's short, and the rest of the stage is completely fine. I actually am a big fan of the mechanic in the sewer here, where you can run with the current, and you can go even faster than usual. After Toadman, we head to Brightman. Yeah, I just did weakness order for this one, standard Mega Man stuff, no fancy tricks here, none of that. Brightman was definitely a stage I had to practice a bit. Here's one of my biggest praises for the game though. The challenging segment like swinging platforms in Brightman stage does not feel unfair. I know that every death I took here was just me not being good enough at the game yet. Each time I could feel myself improving, and I knew it was just something that required mastering. I didn't feel like I was being killed in some cheap way that makes the game feel frustrating. Overall, I would say that the difficulty is right where I want it to be for this game. It's definitely a challenging one, especially compared to the much easier Mega Man 5. However, I would say it's certainly a smidge easier than Mega Man 1 or 2. There are plenty of segments that required me to practice, but nothing too insane. Some parts are also fairly easy to get through, and the difficulty ebbs and flows pretty nicely. Brightman gives us the weakness for Pharaoh Man. In a bit, I will tell you about how much I love the theme for this stage, but hang on for that one. Here we can find one of the game's two secrets. The balloon is one of the most useful items in the game, especially in the later stages. It's essentially item number 2 from Mega Man 2, but with a little more artistic flair than just a simple platform. Another huge point of praise for this game is that there are a few little secrets, but not a ton of collectibles or anything. I love Mega Man Classic for this reason. Don't get me wrong, you guys all know I have a lot of fondness for Mega Man X, but there's something so great about not having to go get all the heart pieces and sub-tanks. Instead, we just have 2 little bonuses that can be very helpful down the road. Next up is Ringman. This stage is very memorable as those sliding platforms have such a distinct look to them. It's a pretty cool concept and the stage is very pleasant to look at. Ringman was probably the robot master that gave me the most trouble initially. When I think of this game, the first 2 stages that come to mind are, of course, Toadman, because we started with him, but then also Dustman. The background of Dustman's stage still looks really cool to me, and that is super memorable. I'll also never forget that trash compactor segment. Here's another moment where the difficulty of the game shines. You have to pull off some quick slides and precise shots to get through here without dying. You'll probably have to do it a few times, but the game teaches you its mechanics before presenting you with the challenging part. Next up is Skullman. He gives us the obligatory shield weapon in this game, which some people may find to be a lazy inclusion. However, in defense of the Skull Shield here and Starman's shield in Mega Man 5, I still stand by one shield weapon being okay in each entry. It's a staple in the series, and at least you can move around with it unlike the Leaf Shield from Mega Man 2. Dive Man stage is next, and of course his stage is water themed. The high jumping in the water is as fun as always here. The second big secret of the game is in this stage, the wire. I don't find this nearly as useful as the balloon, but it can certainly come in handy. It's fun to use when you can find a situation for it. Dive Man is definitely a bit of a challenging fight as well. I'll note that most of the Robot Masters seem to hit like an absolute truck if they hit you with their body. Overall, it's a pretty thick lineup of Robot Masters here. Toadman, Brightman, and Dive Man are all pretty big fellas, so it definitely makes sense. Lastly, we have Drill Man. If you remember from my X2 review, I'm not a fan of Robot Masters going underground and making me wait. And Drill Man does do that, just like Wheel Gator, but it's not nearly as egregious in this fight. So anyways, that is all 8 of the Robot Masters, and now we're on to fight the new evil scientist, Dr. Cossack. Yeah, so our main villain is not Dr. Wily this time. Okay folks, here's just a personal preference of mine. As you know, I could go without things like the Doc Robot stages from Mega Man 3. The same could be said then for the extra castles that were in the sequels to Mega Man 3. At the end of the day, I prefer to just go right into Wily stages like how Mega Man 2 and a few others do. I don't think it's a particularly hot take to say I prefer something in Mega Man 2 over other games. However, I'll give Mega Man 4 props over 3 for the fact that the Cossack stages are not just remixes of Robot Master stages. We have entirely new levels here, and I absolutely love the setting. Being out in the snow is a really cool concept to start off the final stages. Yes, the snow in Dr. Cossack's first stage here does also impede our movement, which, as you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of. However, the snow is not nearly as egregious as the rain in Toadman stage, because if you jump out of it, then you're still moving around fine, and I like to jump around in Mega Man. I'll also say this about having the extra castle. The actual Wily Castle in Mega Man 4 is pretty short, and the game thankfully does not feel like it draws on forever. I get it, the Darkman and Wily Castles in 5 can feel a bit long and drawn out. However, here in 4, it's nearly the perfect length, I'd say. Ultimately, would I prefer an ever so slightly shorter game? Maybe, but that's also because I'm an adult with limited time now. If I had actually grown up in this era, I'm sure I would have loved it. The final bosses in this game are also a nice challenge. Sometimes it feels like the final boss in a Mega Man game is either brutally hard or way too easy. I would say Gamma from Mega Man 3 is ridiculously easy, and then Wily in Mega Man 7 is a total sweatfest. That's the case at least for me. I'm sure you find Mega Man 7's Wily to be really easy and are just so awesome and cool like that, and hey, props to you, man. However, in Mega Man 4, the 2 bosses after the boss rush and the final fight with Wily pose a solid challenge without an easy way to cheese them. Getting to take advantage of the charged Pharaoh shot in the final battle is also really cool. After playing through the entire thing, there's not a single stage where I was like, ugh, this one. They were all a joy to play, and I really loved my experience replaying Mega Man 4. As I said, it had been much too long. The extremely solid gameplay of Mega Man 4 is complemented by what may be my favorite NES Mega Man soundtrack. My go-to theme for this game was always Pharaoh Man. When I think of Mega Man 4, this theme pops into my head instantly. However, here's my issue. I cannot actually decide which theme is my actual favorite anymore. They're all too good. After Pharaoh Man, I start to think about Skull Man. Then I start to think about Ring Man. And this goes on for pretty much every theme, and then I can't decide on a favorite. I also really love the intro to Toadman's theme, and how it complements the rain in the beginning. It sounds very aquatic to me, and I feel like pretty much every theme is very fitting for each stage. If I had to absolutely pick a favorite, I may still say Pharaoh Man, but Skull Man is certainly a contender as well. So yeah, my issue with this soundtrack is that it's too good. Of course, I'm just kidding around. However, I'll take the idea of it being too good and make one point. Previously, I had talked about how cool it was when there was a big mood shift in sound when going from Robot Masters to final stages. The best example, of course, is the first Sigma stage in Mega Man X. Well, Mega Man 4 is lacking a song that really signals that mood shift. Every theme is just pretty dang good, and they're all energetic. There's not really this sense of fear that we get from like a droning ambient theme in the late stages like how some of the other classic Mega Man games do. The second Wily theme definitely sounds the most like the endgame. But I would say the overall tone change is much more subtle in Mega Man 4 than others. Don't get me wrong, they're all still wonderful tracks. It's just an observation, really, and I wouldn't consider this like a major flaw or anything like that. The Cossack themes and Wily themes are still of super high quality. I feel like I say this in every Mega Man video, but Wily Theme 1 from Mega Man 2 got all the attention, whereas these themes deserve a little more love. Picking a non-Robot Master theme to be my favorite, I would say it would have to be the second Wily theme. As I mentioned earlier, the snow aesthetic for the final stages of this game is incredible, and I really love the choice in color palette for the setting, of course. Otherwise, I'll say there's definitely a notable shift in colors when comparing 1 through 3 to 4 through 6. This game is where Mega Man Classic really started to embrace the brighter colors and somewhat cutesier artwork. It feels like each Mega Man entry got brighter and brighter as the series went on. Then, of course, they really went all out with the colors for Mega Man 7, but that's for another time. However, Mega Man 4 feels like it was laying the foundation for a game like Mega Man 7 to have such a bright color scheme. So, anyways, it is time to look at the box and manual as usual here. I have the manual, so this is my own scan of my own copy. However, we will be taking to the internet for the box reference. We have several box art images here from Launchbox, which we typically use for this section. So here's the North American, we have a few European, which I think Mega Man's face actually looks a little bit better on the European. Of course, the best though is the Japanese for Rockman, and that's why you see that used in the Legacy Collection, because yeah, it's a lot better than the other regions. Now, the back of the box, we've got some funny stuff to talk about here. So yes, Russian robots on the rampage. Of course, this game was released right around the time that the Soviet Union fell, and so there's some of that kind of Cold War stuff going on here. It's just like how there's a game on the NES called Russian Attack, you know. There's a little more to it there, but I won't read the whole thing. But I find the Cold War stuff very funny. So, hopping over to the manual, as I said, this is my own scan of it, of my own copy of the manual. We have a very simple manual today, so we have our special message from Capcom, which they include in pretty much every Capcom game, and they talk about how it's following up such hits as Mega Man 3 and Mega Man 2, if you couldn't count. So, that's neat. Some getting started stuff. We have a letter here from Dr. Cossack to Dr. Light, and again, he mentions his Siberian citadel, and of course, Dr. Cossack's castle in the game has that kind of Russian look to it. Getting into it, just explaining some typical stuff about how to play Mega Man. We have some red drawings. The 1-up still looks pretty silly. I find it funny that they just could never really get that to look all that great in the manual, but hey, A for effort. So, and I like this little drawing here of Flip Top. I think the red's kind of an interesting choice for sure. We do have in full color all the Robot Masters: Powerman, Toadman, Brightman, Diveman, Ringman, Drillman, Dustman, and Skullman. Pretty cool artwork there for sure. And then a couple of tips and tricks. Anyways, that's the box and manual, just a quick look. Preservation efforts for Mega Man 4 are pretty similar to those of Mega Man 3, so I won't go on too long about them. I already showed you the graphic for the Legacy Collection on PC and a million other consoles. Then, of course, there's the Anniversary Collection from the PS2 generation, featuring the Complete Works version of the game. One thing this game definitely has over Mega Man 3 is that the Complete Works version has all the themes remastered instead of just a few, and I love every single one of them. Overall, it looks like Mega Man 4 has generally low historical risk. However, it's definitely not as popular or discussed as something like Mega Man 2 or 3. So I'll give it a slight notch higher for historical risks than I did for the Mega Man 3 review. Of course, at the end of the day, it's a classic Mega Man entry on the NES. I don't think it will be forgotten about. As usual though, we need to continue talking about these games and preserving their legacy ourselves on the internet, especially if the big companies decide to go several decades without any additional re-releases or acknowledgement. Then preservation is truly left up to just us. I had a really fun time revisiting Mega Man 4, and I think it's cool that so many people on the internet seem to have begun to praise the game instead of saying it's where the series took a big nosedive in terms of quality. Honestly, I just might consider this one my new favorite. I got asked that once or twice from the Mega Man 3 video after I said I no longer considered that one my favorite. At this time, I can't necessarily give an honest answer as to which one is my favorite, because, well, I haven't done these deep dives for all of them yet. I still have to get into Mega Man 6, and once I do a video on that game, I'll at least be able to hopefully give you an answer as to what my favorite NES Mega Man game is. In the meantime, stick with me as I explore the remaining classic entries in the series, and numerous other games that had a lasting impression on me as a child. I have a whole playlist of all my reviews, and another one dedicated to just my Mega Man content. Be sure to check these out if you enjoy what you saw here today. We'll see you next time.